Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Combination Vehicles Training PowerPoint. My name is Josh Barron. I'm a certified instructor here at Midwest Truck Driving School. If you're a current student of Midwest, welcome back. And this is one of the tests you need to take in order to get that Class A CLP Commercial Learner's Permit. If you're new to the school, welcome, and thank you for taking part in this training today. Let's go ahead and dive right in. First of all, obtaining a combination vehicle CLP or CDL. So before you obtain a CDL, you got to get your CLP, which is your commercial learner's permit. And then after you go through all the tests and take the final skills test, then you get the CDL, the commercial driver's license. So first, you got to be able to pass a DOT physical and receive a DOT medical card. Typically, when you go in to the DMV, you have to show a DOT medical card, and at that point, fill out the application for the Class A, B, or C CDL, and at that point, you can go ahead and take the written knowledge test. Complete the combination vehicle training, which you guys are doing right now, and then take the written combination vehicle knowledge test at your state's DMV. Some states, they call it the BMV. Some states call it the MVD. Some states call it the SOS, Secretary of State. So depending on your state, that's what they're referring to. And then there are some state-instituted restrictions, and they do vary. What they mean by that is some DMVs limit to taking the combination vehicle knowledge test 5 times in a year. Now, if you happen to live in one of those states, like Wisconsin, for instance, you're going to want to go through this training a couple times. Feel free to go through it 2-3 times. There's a lot of information here. You can pause it, you can rewind it, you can fast forward it. Definitely encourage you to do those things. And also, in some states, there's a mandatory week waiting period in between tests. So if you're one of those states, also you want to make sure you're prepared. Otherwise, if you do fail that written test, you got to come back a week later and wait a week in order to take that test again. Must also take the general knowledge test for Class A, Class B, and Class C commercial driver's licenses. So if you're interested in getting that Class A commercial driver's license, you're going to have to take the general knowledge test. And if it has air brakes, then you're going to have to take the air brake test as well. And the school's got a great training on both general knowledge and air brakes if you're interested in those. After that, got to take a final state skills test in a combination vehicle CMV appropriate to the class that you are going for. All right, so let's dive into this training and start off with dash valves. So these two dash valves right here and look something like this close up, they do a lot. And we're going to talk about these a lot. So first of all, the trailer air supply control or the tractor protection valve is the red valve. This red valve does a lot. And it really depends on what you call it, depends on what it's doing. So the red valve is the trailer emergency brake, it's the trailer parking brake, it's the trailer air supply control, it's the tractor protection valve. It does a lot depending on what you're describing its purpose in that moment. So once again, we're gonna really get into the detail when it comes to this stuff, but it is used to supply the trailer with air, to shut the air off, and apply the trailer emergency brakes. The parking brake control is the yellow valve. That's your main parking brake. Your main parking brake is that yellow valve, your tractor parking brake. If your test of the tractor protection valve is successful, the parking brake control and the trailer air supply control, which is the tractor protection valve, the red air supply control knob, will pop out or go from the normal to the emergency position. To do this, step on off the brake pedal several times. So once again, the normal position for these valves is pushed in. And a good way to remember that is pushed in for normal driving operation. Pulled out is considered the emergency position. And we're going to talk about these more when we get in throughout this PowerPoint. Railroad crossings. Single track, it takes about 14 seconds to clear a single railroad track. For a double track, it takes more than 15 seconds to clear a double track. The main reason for that is because you can't shift over railroad tracks. If you're in say a non-synchronized 10-speed and you start off in second gear, it's going to take all of 14 seconds to clear the single track because you cannot shift gears until your whole truck and trailer has crossed those railroad tracks. Here you have a double railroad track and typically takes more than 15 seconds to clear a double. Once again, you can't shift over the tracks. So whatever gear you start off in going across them is going to be the gear you have to stay in until the whole truck and trailer crosses those railroad tracks. And then low slung vehicles can be risky at railroad crossings because they are more likely to get stuck on raised railroad crossings. So low slung vehicles, so low boy would be considered a low slung vehicle. Car carriers, moving vans, all considered low slung vehicles. You can see here there's only a few inches here from the ground to the bottom of this trailer, and that's because with low boys, this tongue piece actually disconnects, and that's how this piece of equipment gets on and off this trailer, is it drives on and then backs off with this tongue piece disconnects. So not a lot of space right there. You want to be more cognizant and careful when hauling low slung vehicles in regards to railroad crossings. Airlines. So you have a couple airlines going from the truck to the trailer, and then you have your electrical pigtail going from your truck to your trailer. The service line is the blue line going from the truck to the trailer. Now, if you took the air brake training, you know that the service line corresponds to the service brake. The service brake being the brake pedal inside the cab. So it's also called the control line and the signal line. Well, the control line because it controls the air brakes on the trailer, and the signal line because that's where the stoplight switch is that activates your brake lights is in that line as well. It carries air to a relay valve that allows the trailer brakes to be applied quickly. Once again, the trailer air brakes via the service brake, which is going to be your brake pedal inside your cab. The emergency and supply line is the red line going from the truck to the trailer. Now, you might have noticed that there's a red valve inside the cab on the dash. The emergency and supply line corresponds to that valve. The tractor protection valve, the trailer air supply control, whatever you want to call it, a couple different names for it, corresponds to that line. So when you push in the red valve, air goes through the truck, through the red line to the trailer, supplying the trailer with air. And if the trailer has airbags, it supplies the trailer airbags with air. If it has air tanks, it supplies the trailer air tanks with air, and it releases the trailer parking brakes when you push in that red valve. The emergency air line engages the trailer brakes in case of an air pressure loss. Airlines that control the combination, the emergency brakes on combination vehicles, and if this line gets pulled apart while driving, the trailer emergency brakes will come on. So all important information there, but the red line is once again that supply line supplies air to the trailer, and then you have your electrical pigtail in the middle there. During uncoupling, you should disconnect the electrical cable and hang it with the plug down. Air and electrical lines from the tractor to the trailer should be secured, but with enough slack for turns. And if the service line comes apart but emergency line stays together, nothing is likely to happen to try to apply the brakes. So let's break this down a little bit. When you're uncoupling, when you're disconnecting the tractor from the trailer, you want to unplug the electrical cable, this line, and hang it into what they call a dummy coupler. Typically, these are on the back of tractors, and you hang it in this little slot here with the plug down. And then once again, these lines should be secured with enough slack for turns. That's why they kind of look like curly fries. They allow them to expand and contract when you're going around corners, and that way they're not resting on the catwalk. If the service line comes apart, but emergency line stays together, nothing is likely to happen. So why is that? So say we cut the blue line, the service line here. Nothing is likely to happen. Why? Because the red line is still attached, and the red line is your emergency and supply line. So that line is what's releasing the parking brakes. So the only time air is going through the service line, the blue line, is when you hit your service brake, the brake pedal. And at that point, if that line was sheared, you would hit your brake pedal, and you'd realize really quickly that you don't have air brakes on your trailer. You don't have trailer brakes at that point. So that's what happens when that happens.